During the last election, Montgomery County voters passed an amendment to the county charter to increase the number of county council members from 9 to 11. They also increased the number of councilmanic districts from 5 to 7. With us today is Mariana Cordier, Chair of the Commission on Redistricting, to give 21 This Week viewers an update on its efforts. Welcome, Mariana.
Thank you for having me on the show.
We've been wanting you on for months. I'm so glad we're able to do this. So this is great. Tell me about the challenges that you've encountered along the way here.
Well, one of the largest challenges for us is when the information from the census, the last census of 2020, will be released. Typically, it's released by the end of July, and we are scheduled to receive it unless something changes at the end of September. And according to the laws and the rules, we are supposed to provide the redrawn district maps in November. I believe it's November 11th. And so the time frame between when we get the census information and to our deadline is tight. So we've taken the opportunity during this period that, we started having meetings once a month. It's the second Wednesday. Anybody can watch it. You don't have to have Facebook, but they're running it on Facebook Live. It's the second Wednesday of every month, and it's at 5 p.m. to 6:30. I think they record them so you can go to the council website and watch a meeting if you missed it. And we invite comments on the chat. But really, we've spent the time to try to educate people. What is redistricting really? What is it? What are we actually doing? And what are the parameters? What are we legally obligated to do, and what do we have to consider? And so it's been good for us as a commission, for all commissioners, to be on a level playing field of understanding, our obligations and what it is we're actually doing. So that's been helpful. It's given us that time, and also to educate the community, right? To let everybody know that community involvement is super important, because I'm super committed to transparency. I think that for this process to work and to be fair, as much as fair as we can be, we really need the participation and input of Montgomery County residents.
Let me ask you a question about
sure.
that, because when you create 2 additional council districts, are you doing it based on voter population or overall population in these areas? And are you trying to shape them along existing election precincts?
So we have determined ground rules and agreed to what our ground rules are going to be. And part of that is a combination of things that have evolved through challenges to districts that have been drawn and then litigated for gerrymandering, and also what our best practices. So kind of pulled from various resources, and we came up with these ground rules. We are looking for equal population for the district, and that is actually, a 14th Amendment obligation. So that's one. Compactness, we're trying to maintain that, we don't have any weird, designs, that it looks right. Contiguity, we want all parts of the districts being connected at some point with the rest of the district. We want to take into consideration minority representation. We do want to look at preservation of political subdivisions. And then the big one that really sparks a lot of debate is the preservation of communities of interest. And for everyone to understand what that actually means, it's a distinctive units which share common concerns with respect to, and it could be geography, demography, ethnicity, culture, socioeconomic status, or trade. So if we can, and then once we have all of that identified with the maps and the layers, then there starts to be a bit of a competition, if you will, or a contest of values, because some values may conflict with others. And that's where I think the community input is important for us to know what is important to our Montgomery County residents. And that's where we kind of have to try to figure out how to do the best that we can.
Have you had an opportunity to meet with all the stakeholders, particularly the two political parties? And how do you bring in the independent voice?
So what we have done is we have created a community outreach. So any group that wants to invite us to come speak, and when I say us, I mean it'll be 1, 2, 3 commissioners at most, 3 at most, because if not, it becomes a a public meeting and there's rules that apply. So we will come out and give a presentation about what I just talked about and some other information, and then we listen. That's the big thing. We listen to what that group has to say and what their concerns are. And we take that back to the commission and we say, these communities have these concerns. And so that's why we've been pushing really hard to be able to do that. And for those who are challenged for equity reasons or technology reasons, I'm challenged technology-wise, we're working to have 3 public meetings. One in Up County, one in the center of the county, one in Down County. I'm shooting for September. I think September will be a really great time before the information comes out to open to the public. So if you don't belong to a single group, you can come to these public forums. And we are creating on the website a form that you can put your comments in.
Well, thank you. Unfortunately, we're running out of time for this segment, and we'd love to have you come back in September. To give us further detail on your efforts. And we greatly appreciate your being with us today. So thank you, Mariana. Appreciate your being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
We will bring in our regular panel, Mike Knapp and Laurie Halverson. Okay. So Mike and Laurie, you heard kind of the challenges that this redistricting commission is taking into account, but it also you heard how well organized, and the presentation is they're trying to take everyone's voice into concern. Mike, what are your concerns after listening to a bit of the process?
I think the process she outlined is a good process. And I think you're right. Because of the delay they haven't gained the census numbers, I think it's given them an opportunity to really think through how they want to approach it once they finally get those numbers. I think the challenge is always the challenge. Redistricting is typically among the most political things that occurs. And so people have vested interest from a political perspective. But I think that we have a really good opportunity now to get good representation across the county. I mean, most of our elected folks within the county council right now, all but 2 live south of Rockville or south of Kensington. And so you have almost 2/3 of the county's land area and half of their people represented by effectively by 2 council members. I realize the at-large members would argue with that a little bit, but they all live down county too. And so I think to be able to reallocate that in a way that gets us a little broader representation throughout the county would be great.
Laurie, are you comfortable with the process that's been described? How involved have you been?
Yeah, I haven't been too involved in this whole process myself, but I've been paying attention to some of the news going back and forth. And I do have concerns that the Republicans are underrepresented because we don't have as many Republicans as there are more independents than there are there are more independents than there are in Republicans in this county. So I'm concerned that we could still be gerrymandered out. A number of our elected officials were gerrymandered out in the past. I'd like to see a fair process. I do think that they're committed to trying to have a fair process, but I'm concerned that maybe not enough Republicans may show up. So I hope when there are public meetings that a lot of conservative people will show up and speak out, because it's really important for them to hear our voices.
Well, we have to go to break, but it was said on the air about 3 weeks ago by a member on the commission that the Republican Central Committee has not as of yet requested the commission come in to describe the process to them. So we'll see what happens with the public meetings in September. When we come back from this short break, former Lieutenant Governor Michael Steele creates an exploratory committee, and County Executive Mark Elrich proposes new energy reducing legislation. Stay tuned.